Get ready for sports news and entertainment. All right here, your 7 minutes with Simmons starts right now.
Now, if I was celebrating a win, I think pizza, beer, maybe some laughs, some good jokes with the guys, not 500 people arrested, hundreds injured, and 2 killed. That is not what I think of. Welcome back to the pod, guys. My name is Christian Simmons, your host of 7 Minutes with Simmons. This is episode number 12. Wow, we're already up there. It's flying by. Almost 2 weeks to this podcast, and thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey so far, and hopefully many more weeks to come. Welcome back. And a couple of things we want to talk about today. Of course, a absolute train wreck of a celebration out in Paris, but we'll get to that in a minute. The Canadian Open coming up this weekend. Will Rory McIlroy get it done? He sat out at the Memorial, all in anticipation for this Canadian Open as he prepares to hear the Rory chants. I don't know if anybody's been to the Canadian Open in recent years. This guy is essentially a Canadian. It's nuts. The kind of support that Rory gets at these Canadian invitationals is just incredible. And, you know, I had a chance to go to the Canadian Open last year with a buddy of mine, Aiden Gooley, and the two of us had a grand old time. And of course, Rory rounds a corner coming up to I think it may have been the 11th. And of course, it's a roar for Rory, and we'll see if he can finally deliver on some of that hype, maybe this weekend, as Rory's focus 100% shifting to the Canadian Open. And additionally, we got the Stanley Cup final starting tonight. All eyes will be in Edmonton. Puck drop is at 8 p.m. Be sure to tune in alongside the rest of the world. And one additional little note before we go any further. The Ride to Conquer Cancer, folks, here in Niagara Falls, coming up this weekend. Be sure to check out the festivities. If you're riding, fantastic. If you're not, come and support, maybe cheer on some family members, cheer on some friends, bring some food. That's even better. You know, just be a part of this event if you're not familiar with it. It is a 200-kilometer ride from Toronto to Hamilton on Saturday, and then on Sunday, the riders complete their journey heading from Hamilton all the way here to Niagara Falls, finishing at the Perilous Estates Winery. And shout out to Louis Amis, who will be with me alongside to cover that event on Saturday morning. So if you are in the Ride to Conquer Cancer and leaving from Niagara Falls to go to Hamilton on Saturday morning, be sure to check out be on the lookout for cameras and a fancy guy dressed up in a monkey suit. But that is this Saturday. Shout out to Louis Amis once again for this podcast idea. Had a great morning with Louis. We discussed a little bit about this event. And we'll jump right in. 2 people have died and hundreds have been arrested following a wild riot that broke out during the PSG Celebration Parade. Now, if you missed it on this past Saturday, PSG absolutely took it to Inter Milan, totally wiped the floor with these guys. It was a 5-0 blowout. That's your final score. PSG continuing to turn into the powerhouse. They win the Champions League. Champions League, yeah? Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know anything. There's so much stuff going on in my head here. The Champions League. And, you know, kudos to them. Congratulations to the franchise and the city. Obviously, a massive accomplishment for them. They continue to turn into the powerhouse they deserve to be, and all eyes will be on their future plans. But that is not what we're talking about here today. Let's get into this parade massacre, and it all starts on the Saturday prior. Saturday night, a 17-year-old kid was tragically killed after being stabbed in the chest late Saturday evening. And additionally, a 23-year-old man riding a scooter was also pronounced deceased Saturday night after he was hit by a car. Now, that was not all for Saturday night. You got people shooting flares, lighting fireworks. Bus shelters were smashed to bits all throughout the city. Cars were torched, all in quote-unquote celebration of PSG's victory. Now, here's the problem. PSG, in response to the events that occurred on Saturday night, continued with their celebratory parade anyways on Sunday afternoon. And as I'm sure you can imagine, the story added a few pages. Things got way, way worse. Like, what did you think was going to happen? 192 people were injured early on Sunday. 559 people were arrested as a result. The parade turned into a full-scale Hangover 3 in Thailand riot. 22 police officers were injured, along with 7 firefighters. 264 vehicles were set on fire, and one officer in particular was injured in a firework-related incident and was placed in a medically induced coma. Stores were looted. 32 people alone arrested on the Champs-Elysees following their robbery of the Foot Locker. What a mess. Now, I don't know if people are going to agree with me, but who in their right mind would follow a day as chaotic as Saturday night with 2 tragic deaths and chaos within the city, bus shelters smashed to bits, cars on fire, with a parade attracting over 100,000 people to add gasoline to the fire? It frustrates me even talking about it. Who in their right mind makes a decision like that? You got all the time in the world. That Champions League victory isn't going anywhere. You could celebrate it the weekend following. You could celebrate it a couple of days later. Wait for the heat to die down. Wait until you at least put the fires out. I'm totally in disagreement with the way that this was handled. I think it's disgusting. And the fact that people were injured following the original events on Saturday night because of the lack of, I guess, willingness to move this parade, to me, is extremely inappropriate. And my thoughts and prayers go out to all the families who were involved. And my condolences are with everybody who was affected by these events out in Paris. What a terrible tragedy. And I hope that the city and the Champs-Elysees will return to the beautiful, iconic landmark that it is always meant to be out there in Paris. And that's going to do it for this episode of 7 Minutes with Simmons. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.